Hello friends and fellow gamers, MKxJUMP here, and this week we have a phenomenal event for Easter in Idle Heroes. We've got a brand new hero who looks really cool actually. I don't normally say that about new heroes. She's a little bit like Eloise, and that's a good thing. And of course, this week's event is giving free-to-play players and spenders opportunities to get some really good rewards. So we'll be breaking all of that down for you guys so that you know how best to get rewards this week. Now, before we do, let me remind you, if you need help in your Idle Heroes account, join us on a Tuesday for account reviews where you can get one-to-one advice with me to help you progress your Idle Heroes account. If you want to get a quick way to get access to that, consider backing me on Patreon. The link is up there in the top corner of the screen, and join our Twitch and our Discord. Links for both are in the description. So that happens 3 hours before reset on a Tuesday. Join us over there and sign up with your account so I can give you some one-to-one tips and tricks to help you make progress. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at this week's Easter event for Idle Heroes. So, every day for logging in this week, you're going to get yourself 3 heroic summon scrolls and 150 gems. 2 really helpful resources for progressing this week's event. Make sure you log in each day and claim those. Now, on top of that, the cool event itself is giving us the Palace of Eternity, where we can go ahead and swap any of the 5 heroes you see here into the brand new hero, Sylvie. She's a forest ranger similar to Eloise in the fact that when she gets hit, she can do counterattacks, and she also gains another ability which improves her active skill, and she can heal. So all in all, a pretty interesting hero. Now, the Palace of Crystal gives you ways to get the Eternal Crystals, as you will need 10 to go ahead and make the switch here, and you can get these from doing 400 Heroic Summon Scrolls, that'll give you 5, or here in the Value Pack, you can buy the top package for either money or Starry Gems, and that will get you a Palace Key, unlocking you the lower tiers down here for each pack you buy, getting you 15 additional Eternal Crystals for each stage and each purchase. Now, the Starlight Rhythm is coming to an end from last week, so make sure you go ahead and cash in all the microphones that you had. Recommendations would be to go for the pink or orange treasures. You can use Universal Crystals to buy the pink, or if you've just got a standard amount of microphones, you can grab the orange to improve your treasure train. Anything left over is probably best used for Heroic Summon Scrolls and then Gold and Spirit. Now, the value packs for this week don't just give you that Palace Key. They're also giving some really good stuff like gems, Heroic Summon Scrolls, and you get Charm treasure coupons, as well as colourful silk cloth, an important currency used in the main part of this week's event. It's important that you go ahead and get some of these if you want to with Contract Starry Gems. I'll be breaking down the amount that's worth spending for this, but that's how you're going to be getting really high tier rewards this week. The treasure coupons can either be used this week, or once this week is over, you can convert them into normal treasure coupons in the treasure train. So we'll look at the new treasure items and see whether they're worth going for, or maybe it's just better to save them for Retro Gaming, Hero Token, or Alien Dessert when they're available in the Treasure Train Up series. On top of that, we've got the Hero Lottery, which is getting you access to 4-star armor for every copy of Sylvie you get. Summon prizes are giving us Prophet Orbs and Heroic Summon Scrolls, and you get points for every scroll you use. So this will tie in with the main event because you are getting the colourful silk cloth from here as well. So perhaps it's worth using scrolls this week. I'll be explaining all the different ways you can use scrolls and with what combination of other resources you should use them to get the top rewards for this week. You're also getting a copy of Sylvie here. There's Jara, and of course Soul Symbols, Cores, Prophet Orbs, all the good stuff thrown in here, even some Charm treasure coupons. You'll also see a Star Transferring Cube. This isn't very useful for the majority of people, but if you do move your Star Souls from one hero to another, which is something you can do between Nirvana heroes, if it's upgraded enough, Star Transferring Cubes can be used to make that transition a little bit easier. And last but not least, we have our Hero Exchange event, which is basically getting you either a Norton Hague or a Finn, up to you whether you feel like you want to buy these, but it will cost you Altar Stones to pick them up. One cool detail about those heroes is you can actually use them here in the swapping part of the event, so if you're really desperate for copies of heroes to swap, Finn and Norton Hague can be used here. Now that we've seen the cool events, let's look at the Rabbit Doll Manual and the other parts of this week's event which get you important rewards. First things first, we need to go to the reward preview. This is explaining that for building rabbits, you're going to get yourself eggs, charm treasure coupons, deluxe gift boxes, and finally, deluxe resource chests that contain a selection of different items. You'll also notice that you're getting a different amount of those bunny rabbits depending on the type of rabbit you make. So the way the game basically works here is you can either make common rabbits, docile rabbits, charming rabbits, or classic rabbits. Now, most rabbits will be common rabbits unless they have 50 points in either of these symbols down here, and then there's a chance that they could become a docile rabbit or a charming rabbit. If you achieve 50 points in both of these quantifiers, you will actually get yourself a classic rabbit. Now, one temptation may be to go ahead and force out classic rabbits, and that could be a good option, but if you actually look at the rewards here in this chest, they aren't that special. Yes, it's nice stuff like Spirit Veins and Cores of Origin, but when you realize the total is so small, it actually isn't necessarily good to force out classic rabbits. Now, I'll explain why that's the case. When it comes to building a rabbit, you select the rewards you want. I actually think the best thing you can do is pick the rewards that are better for you, rather than worry about what items you're going to be picking up from here. And it's a bit strange because you can't actually see how much of the charm or the docile stuff is coming through, so that's a bit unusual. And this first level is going to cost you 20 of the silk cloths. Moving to step 2, you can see the rewards change. Here, it's either an option of cores, relics, and super wishing coins. These options will be different for everybody, by the way, so go ahead and just pick whatever is the best reward for you. If you have any doubts, ask people on our Discord, or even come into my Twitch stream if I'm live and just give me an ask which of these I think is better. But it's another 20 to get through step 2. Step 3 is quite interesting. This is actually, funny enough, giving treasure coupons, but if you are lucky enough, you'll even get the Radiant Soul Crystals. This is basically a free awaken. Absolutely pick this up if this comes up, because that could be contract story gems for you, and free awakens are fantastic, especially when you use them in awakening events, so picking these up is pretty neat. And also at step 3, you're picking up 10 cute rabbit masks. Now, these cute rabbit masks can be used in the shop to buy resources, which is super duper important. So the key detail you need to realize here is 60 of these silk cloths are going to be what's required to get 10 cute rabbit masks. It then continues to step 4, where you have another selection of rewards. Again, I've high rolled here, getting Radiant Soul Crystals. That's pretty nice. And then step 5, you have the opportunity to pick up Sublimation and potentially even a Core of Origins shard chest. However, you're only getting 4 individual shards, and it is for a random selection of heroes. So here I've got Vulcan up to Betty. Some of them contain some of the older heroes, some of them contain newer heroes. Just make sure you go ahead and check these Core of Origin chests before you select them. If in doubt, I think Sublimation is just the better grab. The main reason you'll want to get to step 5 anyway is to pick up the cute rabbit mask. And of course, this one, by the way, costs 40, which again is another total of 60 between step 4 and step 5. So always remember, 60 cloths equals 10 rabbit masks. So ultimately, rabbit masks are the main thing we're after this week so that we can progress and get good rewards. To make sure that you're getting the best rewards, it all depends on how much you're wanting to spend. So we're going to need to work out how many masks are actually attainable for each player. So let's look at more ways that you can get yourself these cloths. Here we have a place where you can buy eggs. Now, it's important to note that the superb Easter eggs can be randomly gotten from the first eggs, and the diamond Easter eggs can be gotten from the superb eggs. So that's how you unlock extra eggs. You'll also notice there's an option to buy superb eggs, but that's going to cost you contract starry gems. I really recommend you don't do this. I don't think the superb Easter egg is worth it, and contract story gems are best being used to help you complete big events like this week, for example, and the eggs don't actually contribute anything to the event's progress, unless, of course, it's the ordinary Easter egg, which you'll see you can buy for gems. 22,500 gems gets you 45, and each time you open the egg, you will get 2 colorful silk cloths, as well as a random reward. That means you can get 90 colorful silk cloths just by using gems. This is brilliant for everyone. Make sure if you have the gems, and I really hope you do this. In fact, you might not even want to spend all 22,500. More on why that's the case later. Another way that you can pick up silk cloths is if you go right to the bottom, you'll see there's a look relay. And you'll get 8 for free from here, which you can see is flashing. So that's going to be 8 silk cloths that you can grab. You can also get more by spending. We'll break down whether that's a good idea later on. On top of that, we have the plentiful gifts. This combines with the relay to get really, really good rewards. So it might be an idea for you to spend in the relay so that you can get access to cool things like Cores of Transcendence. There's even access to deluxe materials here, which can help you in the Tree of Origin. And then the bonus rewards at the end are getting you access to boxes that contain Destiny materials. You'll also notice there's not as many boxes this time. It's only giving about 1 million Spirit Vein shards or equivalent if you do all 2,000 Heroic Summon Scrolls here, which means you're not quite getting as much value as we've seen in the past, but it's still probably a good idea nonetheless. If you do plan on spending in the relay to unlock each of these privilege stages, do be aware to get the most value from this, you'll want to spend 2,000 Heroic Summon Scrolls. So we'll talk about whether that's a good idea later on. But first, let's wrap up the rest of the event here. Every day for logging in, you'll get a Charm Treasure Coupon. If you buy in the relay, you'll also get 3 additional ones and 50 Prism Storage Gems. That's quite nice. Make sure you claim these. And last but not least, we have the Treasure Collection, which if you choose to, you will get points for each ticket you use for the Charm Treasure for this Easter, and you'll get chests that contain any of the festival treasures from 2025. I personally would probably save my train tickets for things like Hero Token or Retro Gaming, but you might see that the new treasure items are worth chasing these chests. We'll have a look at that later on. So let's now start breaking down all the different ways that you can approach this event, scaling it up and up and up depending on how much you want to spend. Let's start off for people who have absolutely nothing except for gems. My advice would be to take your 8 free silk clots, and then you'll want to go ahead and pick up 26 of these ordinary eggs. That's going to cost you 13,000 gems. The reason is because you're going to get 52 silk clots if you do that. Add that to the 8 that you'll get for free from over here, that'll take you to 60, which is enough to go ahead and get step 3 completed, getting 10 cute rabbit masks. By doing that, you can then go ahead and either get yourself an Origin material item here. I recommend Sublimation for newer players, especially the active skill one, as you'll want to grab that. If you've already got 180,000 in the active skill, passive 2 and then passive 3 would be good. And I would just repeat that loop over and over again. Active skill to 180, passive 2 to 180, then passive 3 to 180. You don't really need Core of Origin shards, unless of course you want to get a core for a hero like Betty. But beyond that, cores don't really matter until you have about 6 Transcendence heroes and you start focusing on Destiny. So for the time being, just prioritize getting Sublimation on those Transcendence heroes of yours. An artifact might be a better option. Here you can get yourself some really powerful ones like Melodic Strings, which can be very useful. Ruyi Scepter if you need that. Your first crown perhaps if you want to use someone like Eloise in the early game. Elusive Mirror is really good for energy feed and you'll need that if you plan on building a Betty to help your team with crowd control. So yeah, lots of cool items you can go for. Do bear in mind Demon Bell and Antler's Cane are not available in here, which is quite sad. And another option you could do is go for Void materials if you wanted to. You could get yourself some Stellar Shards here, and that will leave you with 5 left over, meaning you could go ahead and do the same thing again. Some other options would be Celestial Island resources, or even to go with some Star Spawn eggs. Up to you really which one of those is the most valuable, but typically if you're in doubt, Stellar Shards are the best. So that's the best way to approach this if you've got no contract story gems and don't plan on using scrolls. So what if you do have scrolls? Well, if you go into the summon prizes, you'll notice that we can get up to 72 of these colourful silk clots. Now, 72 of them is quite a large amount, and we can also grab ourselves another 98 by buying every single ordinary Easter egg and getting ourselves also these 8 for free. That'll take you to 170, which is 10 silk clots short from being able to get yourself 3 times of these cute rabbit masks. That's unfortunate. So let's tone down that. Let's not use that many heroic summon scrolls. Instead, let's get all of these ones with Easter eggs we can grab, and then let's go and get our 8 for free. If from there you do 800 heroic summons, that's going to take you to just over 120 silk clots. That means you'll be able to go ahead and complete a rabbit all the way to step 5, getting 20 cute rabbit masks. 20 cute masks, though, is a little bit awkward, as it's not going to get you that many more rewards. For example, yes, let's say we went with some Origin materials here, like Active Skill Sublimation, but our next rewards are probably just best being Stellar Shards and another bunch of Sublimation. Is it really worth spending 800 Heroic Summon Scrolls to get a little bit of Stellar Shards and some extra Sublimation? I don't think so. And you'll probably agree with me when we break down the other ways that people who don't want to spend money can get big rewards this week. Let's remind ourselves that the value packages exist, and these can be bought with contract story gems. You can buy loads of colourful silk cloths from here. So let's say we wanted to get the most value out of our heroic summon scrolls and our contract story gems. What could a free-to-play player do? Well, the best advice I have for you is to spend all your scrolls, all 2,000, and go ahead and get yourself the gems, all spend them on eggs. That's going to take you to 170. From there, what you can do is you can buy the 45 and the 90 colourful silk cloths. That'll take you to 305 silk cloths in total, which is enough to go and build yourself multiple rabbits. And on top of that, it's going to get you 50 of the masks. 50 masks is the perfect number for most people, as you're able to get yourself some really great rewards. Let's start off here with an active skill sublimation, then let's get Stellar for an example, and let's get another active sublimation as well. And then we get to floor 4 and floor 5, where the really powerful resources come in. For newer players, Origin artifacts are phenomenal as they enhance your normal artifacts into their deific form. For example, the exotic pistol can make you a lingering melody of the universe, which is a better version of melodic strings. Or you can go with Breath of Forest Spirit, which is a better version of Antler's Cane that gives a whopping 300% skill damage. If you're able to get to 50 points, you can get yourself 2 of these pistols, which means you can immediately build those artifacts to glittery. If you want as well, you could get the Grimoire if you already have those artifacts, and get yourself 4 exotic Grimoires across multiple events, which you can then use to make a splendid Dragon Rui Scepter. Between having Lingering Melody of the Universe, Breath of Forest Spirit, and a splendid Dragon Rui Scepter, those artifacts are pretty much the best deific artifacts for any account. And getting deific artifacts is really important, so getting these Origin artifacts can be super useful. Another option as well, if you're looking at Stage 4 and Stage 5, perhaps you've already got your deific artifacts. You could instead go and choose to get Destiny materials. That could be quite tempting, as Destiny materials are really, really useful once you get into a later stage account with multiple Transcendence heroes. It's quite nice to get these accumulated so that when you do get to that point where you are ready to start building Destiny heroes, you have the resources ready to go. That's only 40 rabbit masks that we've spent here, which means we can go and get even more rewards if we want to, which means we can go ahead and pick up Origin resources here, and we could even get more again by going to this bottom stage there, which is all 50 masks used. Now, one cool thing is as well, a shop will pop up once you've cleared floor 6, which will let you convert up to 5 masks into contract story gems. My recommendation would be then to pull back this Origin material reward up here and turn this into actually just stellar shards or whatever you may need, which means we only have to spend 45. That gives us 5 masks which we can convert into contract story gems, 1,000 of them in fact, and they can then be used in future events to get even more rewards. And the most important thing to do as a free-to-play player is try and keep your contract story gem total as high as possible. Some of you may be tempted in that case to go lower down here and actually get to all 50 masks used by getting this discount Origin chest or sublimation or whatever it is you may wish to grab from this. I actually think the contract story gems are better value than a singular Origin chest. I would much rather have 1,000 contract story gems to get me loads of rewards in a future event than just a single Origin material choice. So personally, I actually think it's best to skip this and just get to 50. So to remind you, all of that can be gotten with 2,000 heroic summon scrolls, and by spending all of your gems that you can onto these eggs, and then spending 3,250 contract story gems here, getting 1 top pack and 1 lower pack. That also gets you 1,000 contract story gems back, so ultimately you're getting a lot of rewards without having to spend too many contract story gems at all. And as well, by buying these packs, you're going to get things like Charm Treasure coupons, which will enhance your account as well, because the treasure train is really important for boosting your heroes. Some of you, though, because you're newer players or aren't so savvy with your contract story gems, may not have a lot of contract story gems on your account. In that case, another option available to you is actually the Look Relay. You can spend $5 here, and you're able to pick up 10 colourful silk cloths, and you'll also get an additional 15 here for free, taking you to 25. One key detail about this is actually going to save you a lot of scrolls if you plan on grabbing this, because that gets you 25 silk clots, which effectively can save you from spending up to 700 heroic summon scrolls. So one thing to think about if you want to save some scroll spending there. So maybe you want to take the route from before, but save some scrolls. This could be one great option to do that. One other nice thing about getting 25 colourful silk clots from this $5 pack is that when you combine it with the 98 that you get for free by spending gems and getting your purchase here, you can actually just easily get to 20 masks. Now, I know spending 800 scrolls to get to 20 masks didn't sound very good, but $5 actually seems pretty good, because just spending the gems is going to get you access to one grab from here, but with an additional $5, you're then getting stellar shards and additional bonuses on top of that. And you'll get to save your heroic summon scrolls. So effectively, you're treating $5 like 800 scrolls. And if you don't have contract story gems, that could be tempting just to pick some stuff up. I wouldn't, though, go spending your scrolls without using contract story gems, because in my personal opinion, you want to combine scrolls with contract story gems whenever you have the chance to, and that will allow you to get these higher rewards as we broke down earlier, because deific artifacts are really, really nice. Just for the sake of covering everything, you do also have the option of buying that $5 pack down here, and combining that with 1,700 scrolls, and then of course buying all 45 ordinary Easter eggs as well. That option will take you to 180 silks, which will get you a full rabbit and a half, which means you get 30 masks. That is an interesting position, as that will actually get you access to floor 4, meaning you could get yourself still a deific artifact or some destiny transition materials. However, it is still quite expensive to spend 1,700 scrolls for that. I again want to stress, using contract story gems here would get you way more value alongside using those scrolls. So personally, I would save your scrolls for when you have some contract story gems. For those of you wanting to maximize the value you can get with spending this week, there are two options I can recommend. The first is getting all the bonus rewards here, giving you access to everything in this for Tree of Origin materials, Destiny, and also these cores, Stellar Shards, and all the good stuff there. To do this, you need to spend $130 in the relay, which will take you all the way up here to energy. You'll get a lot of charm treasure coupons for that. You'll get loads and loads of prism story gems. You'll get scrolls. You'll get cores. There's loads of stuff. Go ahead and see for yourself. But more importantly, you're getting yourself a lot of colorful silk clots. 213 in total, to be precise. When you combine that with the silk cloths you get from ordinary eggs and the 72 that you get for heroic summons, that's going to take you to 375. Combine that then with two top value packages here for 5,000 contract story gems and an additional one for 45, that takes you to a total of 600. 600 completes 5 rabbits and gets you 100 of these masks, which means you can very aggressively get some really nice resources. So for example, I personally need lots of Core of Origin shard chests, so let's go ahead and select those as resources, all here. That's 3 right there listed through. Then transition materials come up, or you can go for deific artifacts. Up to you which one you want, but let's say we're a later player, so we want to get some of those transition materials. The big appeal now is the fact that we can get Star Soul materials. So this is a really good option for people who have heroes at Nirvana and are therefore in need of Star Souls. So we can go and grab this from here, get another core chest from these next stages, grab another one from floor 9, then we've got some more transition materials to pick up, and then we're back to Star Souls. And that takes us to 95 masks spent, which means we have 5 masks left over, which we can cash in for 1,000 contract story gems in the additional store, and we can also go ahead and get ourselves a bonus free reward for completing the entire thing, which means we get another Star Soul from here if we wanted. That means I'm getting 3 Star Souls for $130, and also by spending 6,250 contract story gems, of course we get 1,000 back from here, and also you need to spend 2,000 scrolls, and of course those 2,000 scrolls are going to unlock you all of the rewards in the plentiful gifts. So that's one option for people wanting to spend big. Let's say though I was looking to get myself Star Souls as cheaply as possible and I didn't care about any other resource. Well, let's take advantage of some of these discounts. So if we switch stuff across here only prioritizing the discounts that we can grab. We of course have to get Star Souls from this level, but once we start piling up discounts, it only costs us 80 masks in total. And we still have 5 left over to get those 1,000 contract story gems. From that, we're still getting 3 lots of Star Souls and some really nice rewards. But the big difference between this and spending $130 is the price tag. If you choose to buy every single package here with contract story gems, which means you have to spend 7,500 contract story gems, you actually will have enough silk clots if you only go up to here, Fortitude, and spend $30. That means you're getting 3 Star Souls, as many as you would from $130 for $100 less dollars spent. You are missing out on a lot of rewards though, if you make that choice, because you aren't getting any of the Prism Story Gems from here, you aren't getting any of the Charm Treasure Coupons, and you also are missing out on the ability to get the bonus rewards here from the Plentiful Gifts. You will not get Sublimation or Origin Chests from there, and you won't get any Destiny resources. For some people, that might not matter though, because $30 is way less than $130. Yes, it will cost you 1,250 more contract story gems, but saving $100 might make that a little tempting if all you care about is getting access to Star Soul materials. You may also realize that if actually you don't care about Star Souls at all, there is another route available to players where you just basically grab everything you possibly can as cheaply as possible, and that's going to cost you 70 masked bunnies. Now, it is possible for free-to-play players to reach that point if you go and buy all the value packages here with contract story gems. I personally don't think that that is a very good option though, as you are missing out on Origin artifacts or Destiny, which are the main reason you want to be spending contract story gems in the first place. So although it looks like you're getting lots of rewards, and yes, I suppose you are getting the Destiny materials on floor 10 and floor 11, the majority of players really ought to be focusing on getting deific artifacts and not spending 7,500 contract story gems on what I personally think is not the world's greatest value. Yes, you are getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then eventually, if you can, 7 opportunities to pick up Origin materials. And yes, it does get you probably, I think, 3 or 4 accesses to Destiny, but you're getting a lot of that anyway by spending far less contract story gems with the initial option I threw at you guys. And the other problem with taking this route is it doesn't get you any contract story gems back. So just because a free-to-play player can get to 70 masks by blowing out all their contract story gems, I don't think it's the best option. So for budget players and free-to-play, I still think it's best that you only go to a maximum of 50 masks, spending 45 of them and using the final 5 to get 1,000 contract story gems back. So there's a few ways for you guys to engage with this event. If you really wanted to, you can spend a ton more money on these top packages up here. I definitely don't think they're worth it, but maybe some of you can convince me otherwise. I mean, this top one is an extra $70 and it does get you a lot more colorful silk cloths. So I guess that could save you some contract story gems. But I mean, if you were really in the mind of saving, I don't think spending $70 extra is the way to do it. The cheapest and most effective way we saw was, of course, spending $30. But that is definitely an option to spend $70 here if you really don't have that many contract story gems, as it does get you 100 colorful silk cloths, which is far cheaper than buying the $100 pack would be. And you also get this free chest here, which is getting you even more gems and even more treasure coupons, which is pretty nice. But anyway, we've talked about lots of ways to approach this event, and I'm sure there's plenty more you guys can think of in the comments section down below, but those are the best ones that I could figure out by looking at this event. On top of all of that, let's go take a look at the new hero and give you a quick rundown of her skills. The most important thing is ready for blocking. When she successfully blocks, she'll gain a layer of momentum accumulation, which she can use as part of her active skill to give her additional damage equal to 6% of the target's max HP. That also gets enhanced to 8% once you level her up, and her active skill can do as much as 600% of attack damage. Also, she comes inbuilt with 45% block, is a warrior, so she gains block from guild tech, so it should be pretty easy to get her block stat nice and high. Also, her basic attack is going to target one enemy, and if it was the additional enemy from last time, she'll also do some bonus damage in there too. But the main principle of her is ready for blocking, which allows her to heal, deal counter damage to the front line, and ultimately keep the pressure on the opponents whilst keeping herself alive. Definitely a hero you'll want to pair with Ignis, because when Ignis dies, she'll let Sylvie become control immune, meaning she can block and heal as much as possible, and it probably makes her a really, really chunky hero that can stay alive. Whether she's actually better than Eloise will be difficult to say, but it's nice that we have an alternative, and I think it goes without saying she's very, very cool looking. I personally really like the idea of fighting with a spear and a shield, and her whole aesthetic being this hench-ass bunny rabbit is pretty cool. So yeah, a hero that actually might be viable as a starter hero, so let's go quickly look at her tenants. And oh boy, is it a disaster. You'll see that Sylvie's tenants are horrendously bad. There's no heroes here that really synergize with her. They didn't even think about putting Siahu or Melissa in here. Two heroes which I think would have been quite cool to pair with her. Melissa removing crowd control, for example, which will be one of Sylvie's weaknesses. But nope, it's just a bunch of the newer Transcendence heroes, and they really don't leave much to get excited about. So when it comes to pure tenant value, I think Eloise still wins as a block counter hero, because she's got some brilliant tenants like Carrie, Tix, Onkiramaru, Ithaca if you wanted to take that route, even Saja if you needed a fortress hero. There's a lot better heroes here for Eloise than there are for Sylvie. Although she's got the new and cool factor, so I guess even then people will probably still build her to see if she's any good, but unfortunately not having any tenants that are actually good is probably going to hold her back from being extremely useful. Last for this week's event, we need to look at the festival treasure items that have been added. And they're quite cool. They help Void Campaign and Campaign. The adorable Easter Lamb, for example, is giving you control immunity offset up to 3%, which then enhances as you upgrade this. That's nice. That will make our crowd control from heroes like Wukong and Betty more reliable, but as a pink, it can probably be quite expensive to grab, and it's just icing on an already existing cake. The next one is the Maui, and this is giving attack and has pretty decent fixed stats. That's nice, but probably not my immediate pickup. And the HP one is just worse, so I do think if you are forced to grab one, the Maui is okay. I don't think these bonuses are going to be super important, but I can see why control immunity offset would tempt some players to improve the crowd control of their heroes in Void Campaign. But do remember, you can attack Void Campaign many, many, many times, infinitely, in fact, so I don't think it matters how reliable your control is, just as long as you have some control immunity offset, and there's lots of other ways we can gain it, such as from star spawns or other much easier to obtain items in the treasure train. You may note that you can pick these up in the pumpkin chests, which you will get. I personally think you're actually best not grabbing any of the treasure train items here, and in fact just getting 10 charm treasure coupons and saving those to then convert them at the end of the week. You can find the menu to do that up here in the top right, and if you had any, you'd be able to swap them into normal treasure coupons, which you can use to go and do 150 each month whenever a nice series pops up. This week's series is this Crown Enchanted one. Which one's that one? Oh, it's the hero merch. An interesting bonus, actually. I personally don't think hero merch is super important, but it can help you in things like Aspen Dungeon. But I do believe the most important ones to chase are the Alien Dessert, the Hero Token, which is arguably the best, and Retro Gaming, which many would argue is the best or second best of the choices available to you. Those have recently happened, so it may be some time before you can use your treasure coupons, so go ahead and save them up, and hopefully you'll get something nice when they roll out as up series in the treasure train. Either way, that's this week's event. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button to check out next week, and of course to stay up to date with all the news and updates each week here in Idle Heroes. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget, if you need help with your account, you can join us on Tuesdays for an account review. Until next time, guys, have an amazing week, and as always, happy idling.